Blimey Cow presents You Might Be a Homeschooler If. You might be a homeschooler if you read more books in a month than kids with assigned reading lists read in a year.
You might be a homeschooler if you ever use the phrase, "Hey mom, can I take a break from school?"
You might be a homeschooler if everything you know about literature you learned from Wishbone.
You might be a homeschooler if you're still working on school in the summer.
You might be a homeschooler if you ever had to wait till dad got home from work so he could help you with science.
If you ever did 2 days of schoolwork in one so that your family could leave early for vacation.
If your treehouse has an awesome name like The Fortress.
If the first and only R-rated movie you ever saw was The Passion of the Christ, you might be a homeschooler.
You might be a homeschooler if your parents skipped over the parts in classic Disney movies where there was an evil witch.
You might be a homeschooler if the creator of the universe cares about football.
You might be a homeschooler if going to the mall to people watch counts as a social studies field trip.
You might be a homeschooler if you're used to your friends asking you why you don't go to real school.
If you own more than 5 animals.
If you know what the Silmarillion is.
If the first adult fiction book you ever read was Left Behind, you might be a homeschooler.
You might be a homeschooler if you're filled with fear and dread when you hear the word Saxon.
You might be a homeschooler if having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card.
You might be a homeschooler if your parents sat you down after watching The Wizard of Oz to explain to you that there's no such thing as good witches.
You might be a homeschooler if your family votes Republican but still watches PBS religiously.
If Harry Potter is a tricky subject for your family.
If you've read the entire Bible twice.
If your mom taught you language and your dad taught you math, you might be a homeschooler.
You might be a homeschooler if you weren't allowed to watch Power Rangers. Unless you were at your friend's house and he was watching it.
You might be a homeschooler if you've ever found yourself laughing politely at this joke.
Homeschooled? So does that mean like all you ever do is homework?
You might be a homeschooler if you judge the length of car rides by how many episodes of Adventures in Odyssey it's gonna take to get there.
You might be a homeschooler if your mom is genuinely concerned about the effects of GMO products.
If gluten-free is the way to be.
If you can quote The Princess Bride.
If you can't even remember the last time you ate fast food, you might be a homeschooler.
You might be a homeschooler if you know what a jean jumper is.
You might be a homeschooler if you weren't allowed to watch movies that talked about evolution.
You might be a homeschooler if you can solve Encyclopedia Brown cases faster than he can.
You might be a homeschooler if you save all your homework for the night before co-op.
If you cried when Mary Ingalls went blind.
If your hair has never been cut.
If you actually finish this video, you might be a homeschooler.